Komi Can't Communicate episode 2 has me even more in love with this series than the first episode. In the first episode I gushed about it and I was like, this is clearly going to be a charming show with an interesting take on different behavioral issues or struggles that teens deal with when growing up. I mean, when's the last time we've really seen a communication disorder? I really think Komi is pretty original in that department even outside of anime, like manga itself, because those types of things generally you can't really get off the ground, or publishers or distributors, they won't look at that and say that's a moneymaker, but add some anime comedy to it without distracting from the real issues, and you got a goddamn gem. And that's what I loved about things like A Silent Voice, and while that went on the more emotional direction, this one with its comedy direction I think is becoming really impactful with its individual issues. And I mean, they kind of teased us with the end of episode 1 with this school kind of having a personality, like everyone's gonna have their own personality, and it was clear that Tadano, this boy was gonna struggle. I just wasn't expecting an episode to kick off with him being labeled scum a dozen times as the preppiest, most popular leader of the girls, decided to say, hey, go die in a hole and bury yourself because we're not going to bother with it, and you don't get a shovel either. But it's interesting because this episode is basically revolving around Komi's second friend, who it was clear that ultimately we'd have friend number 2 by the end of this episode. At least that's how I felt, though I knew it wasn't going to be like Komi wouldn't be able to speak or anything like that. But there would have to come a point that eventually Osana said, you know what, I'm good, we can be friends. This person, 5 million friends at one point was labeled in this episode. I imagine that's a difference between followers on social medias and things like that. But still, the entire school is childhood friends with Osana. And the interesting aspect about this one is when Tadano was kind of growing up, he knew Osana as a boy, and now within their new school, they go by a girl. And the interesting thing about this show is how, they're not shying away from so many different things that typically Japanese media don't deal with because they're just, unfortunately, not comfortable with this type of subject matter. But the idea of, Osana's gender, not really being something that they're going out of their way to specify, but just saying it is what it is, deal with it, I think is really interesting and I think is great for anime in general. And I love the idea of having a super popular person who at one point years back tried to become friends with Komi, got scared shitless, thought she was just a horrible, evil person, or just thought she was talking down on themselves, and they're like, you know what, screw this. Interesting kind of development throughout this episode. There was some legit, probably some of the funniest moments in the past couple anime seasons, if I'm being honest. The horror scene I thought was just perfection. You have what I thought was going to be a gangster showdown. I don't know, when the two characters popped up originally, who were about to shake down, or at least that's what I thought was going to happen. And then it was just this romantic scene. I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be a misunderstanding or they're going to tag along. I just didn't expect the overly clinginess because given how it immediately started off frightening to then completely went just cute, I don't know, it kind of gave me some Ori Monogatari vibes if you ever seen that anime. With the very, very big guy and the little, she's a high school student, but she's, very petite in comparison. Just kind of gave me that vibe. I was like, okay, I guess, they're going to be harmless, just very powerful people. And they got very stalkery, grabbing on the arms. And when Komi popped up, I was like, okay, I see exactly where this is going to go. The kind of very evil eyes of Komi will scare the pants off this and just, they'll run away, something like that. I wasn't expecting the horror scene where she was going outside her comfort zone, talking to someone that she just met. And, you see her boy in the background so proud that she's talking to strangers, but she only is able to say die. And just, the horrorness of that. I thought that was some of the coolest, creepiest, and funniest, I think, directing bait and switches I've seen in a long time. And comedy anime struggle sometimes at the setup, the execution, and everything in between. But the idea of bringing in these characters who look like gangsters to then escalate it into romantic troubles, to then escalate that into almost a stalker-like energy, to then the evil eyes, to then horror eyes, to them becoming friends because of that. That is such a well-executed and structured comedy scene that I feel even outside of anime, comedy series in general, especially in the animated department, can struggle with it because they just say, okay, I'm going to tell a knock-knock joke and here's the punchline. That's the equivalent of a lot of comedy anime's jokes. But here, there's a path, there's a journey, and that roller coaster, there's not a dull moment to get to that finish line, and you're not saying, oh man, I hope they just finally just get to that funny moment, her looking like a crazy evil psycho killer. No, the entire thing was absolutely comedy gold. I think the idea of Komi is probably going to be something along the lines of like the side cast, whoever will be the main side cast that will interact with these characters will probably end up becoming like the main friends of Komi. I do think by the time whatever the manga or anime we get to 100 friends, the main goal, that will happen, but I doubt we're gonna have like 100 characters' names that we get to know to the same degree as Tadano or Osana or anything like that. I feel like it would be a little impossible to do that, but then again, Komi is pretty impressive. I'll leave it up to decide if they'll do it or not. But it feels like, you know, a dozen characters getting to really know and love and cherish makes sense, where eventually after maybe Komi can start formulating her own sentence, after she has a good dozen of friends herself, then she would start speedrunning, and you could see that being like a sort of ending where you get to see like a montage of her making all these different friends. But I mean, the school's full of personality. It's not going to be impossible for someone who's as popular as Komi to make that many friends. But then again, maybe they'll go the direction of like she'll cherish a handful and realize that means way more than having 100 friends as long as she can start communicating with them without struggle. Though the Starbucks scene, I have to say, was another one that I think, I wouldn't put it to the exact same up to par for me, just for that horror scene, because I thought that was just so original. But the memes and the, you know, just the dude, he understands what Komi wants. And I was thinking to myself, you know, it'd be amazing if he actually got the order pretty damn right with one or two things off, because it'd be impossible to get it completely right. But the complete difference of what was ordered versus her just like accepting it because she can't say no, and just the memes. I mean, when he was squirting the bottle, I forget the where the meme comes from, but you've probably seen it with the little spice meme. I thought that was just absolutely comedy gold. And honestly, like, this show has so much personality, and I think any character could probably hold 20 minutes worth of content more often than not. You got a great opening, got a great ending, you got great comedy. But the thing that makes the show so compelling is that it wears its heart on its sleeve, and it says, hey, we're going to talk about real issues with communication disorders, bullying, social anxieties, all these different things, and we're going to make them a person and not just a victim of their issue or things like that. You know, a communication disorder with Komi, you could easily just write her off and make her just feel like, oh, you just feel bad for her. While there's definitely situations you feel like, god damn, you wish you could hug the girl, at the same time, you're seeing her progressively get stronger and stronger, and while it may not look like it compared to episode 1 or 2, take a step back, she was, you know, she, as much as she did say die to this boy, she did talk to a random person she just met, or at least attempted to, and that's the great thing about a show like this, is that it knows how to progress while being realistic for the struggles that the characters are dealing with, not making a joke out of a certain subject matter, and just making it entertaining all the way to the home stretch, while probably feeling like Tadano deserves a goddamn raise, which he's getting paid nothing, so he definitely deserves a raise for the bullshit he's dealing with this school. I mean, it would be interesting if Tadano ended up with 100 friends, but that might be wishful thinking. I mean, yeah, Komi's great. I mean, we'll see how the releases go from here. I actually used a different fan sub group this week who actually released it last week. Very good subs. I don't watch Netflix subs, I'll be completely honest. They are absolutely bare minimum, hardly translate anything, but we'll see. I'm imagining it'll be a Wednesday to Friday show, one of the two, but I guess we'll see from here. But let me know your thoughts, favorite moment, favorite character so far. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.